Welcome back to the Tomb of Illumination on a little mini series I'm doing on the flat earth design and Sirius, the star Sirius, and its connection to many legends, myths, and deeply embedded into the Freemason culture. Now I'm about to reveal quite a number of secrets never been told before, and the understanding of one version of Osiris, what Osiris is, what he represents, but a few things. But it's been a couple of days since I started this stuff, so it keeps fading out of my memory, so I'm going off the top of my head. I've got to try and remember it all. So we've talked about in the previous few videos about the Milky Way. First you have to understand the Milky Way is a separate entity to the rest of the stars. The background stars, the Milky Way, and you have the ecliptic plane with the planets on it, which the moon goes in and out over each month. So it's a trinity there, right? So this is where you've been lied to, that we all live in the Milky Way, which is utter garbage. We're from the Milky Way, we're not in the Milky Way, okay? So you've got to consider the Milky Way as the umbilical cord from the Creator, the Mother, out to our created world, the baby. We're all in that zone. And anyway, the Milky Way is the male entity of creation, and the vortex the Milky Way goes into, which is the centre of the Earth, back here in the centre north. The Milky Way swings over from the tropical region, where we see the sun, swings over into the female entity. That's the vortex, the mother of creation's in there, basically the tree of life. It's like a vortex. So you have to understand it's a separate entity, and that Milky Way moves around the Earth, okay, every day. Now there's a good season and there's a bad season spiritually, and the good season is when it's what they call the Milky Way season, and you got Orion's at night in the night sky. You see Orion's belt come over, just followed by the star Sirius. So as soon as you see the star Sirius, that's the beginning of the divine season. So when Sirius goes right over your horizon, every day you'll see it slowly moving over more and more over 9 months. Then it gets to the western horizon, that's where it dies. This is why in Egypt, the western side is classed the land of the dead, where they bury the dead, because now you Antares, which is the red star, is on the opposite horizon. That starts coming over. That's bringing the underworld, if you understand what I mean. The underworld being, it's basically the opposite of what we think, because we're thinking the underworld's night time or something or other, but in the spirit world, the night, visualizing the stars and everything, is the divine season of the Milky Way. So you can call that the light if you want, I don't know, but anyway, Antares coming around represents the underworld. It's where they Anubis and that are doing the mummifying, and that you're going through this period before Sirius turns up again and goes through the divine season. So that's the divine season, that's basically the underworld in this tale, okay? So Sirius has gone down, that's the end of the season. They died off now, and you're being taken into the, possibly used the word tomb, I don't know, a mummification, going through a process to rise up again before we go through this cycle again of the divine season. So this is death and recycle, death and resurrection. It's all in that story, but there's also other versions like 3-day versions, not like 3-month versions and that sort of thing. But it's all about the Milky Way. So the Milky Way, you see a beautiful Milky Way, and then it starts disappearing. You see at the end of the Milky Way season, when Sirius is going down, the Milky Way is curled right around to Sirius, intersects the 3 wise men and curls round to Sirius. So that's, you go out at night and the Milky Way's already dipped down to the west. Okay? Because at the beginning of the season, the divine season, the Milky Way, you see it drifting across the sky at night, gradually over the night. But at the start of the evening, at this time of the year, it's already down there in the west. So it's going to start swinging that way. So you're not going to see the Milky Way swing over you in the out of season period. So it's all about the Milky Way. And this is the story of Osiris. So you have to understand the flat earth system. Osiris, there's your iris. There's the whites of the eye, and inside there's the pupil. And the Milky Way spirals out of the north here over to here. That's the Tropic of Cancer. That's where the northern hemisphere will see it, okay? Well, I've done that wrong. It'll swing this way, like this. Swings out of centre north, like this. And this is turning, so it moves across your arc of horizon. And then you've got the one that comes out of the south, like this. That goes to the Tropic of Cancer, Capricorn and Cancer. Okay? Where was I going with that? Right, Sirius, Osiris. Yeah, Osiris. So Osiris is represented in here. Osiris. Probably because of that, they meet at this area. They meet at Osiris, all around here. So this is the meeting point. This is the bridging point. Okay? So anyway, Osiris represents the Milky Way. Or that end of it maybe, where it meets in the tropical zone here. Because this is, you could consider this the divine, like the eye, you could say, because you've got 1, 2 in Osiris. Osiris, the tale is that there's Seth and Osiris. So Osiris, you could say, is represented by Sirius, and Seth is on the other horizon as the bad guy. Okay, he's the counter force, you could say. So the story goes, Seth kills Sirius, or Osiris, and he ends up getting chopped up to 14 pieces and scattered over the world. So, and this is referring to, is chopped up into 14 pieces. So 14 pieces is representing the 14 days the moon, the moon is seen at night in association with the divine season of the Milky Way. So that's giving the Milky Way the opportunity, because it's a separate entity and it moves fastest of all the celestial bodies, to come and sweep over the moon. Okay? Because the moon's going around every day, the Milky Way's going around, but the Milky Way catches up. Can catch up to the moon. It laps the moon over a month. So it was all about those 14 days, the period of the moon, cycles of the moon, or days of the moon, and how Isis and her sister found Osiris and put him back together again, okay, to make him whole. So this is the 14 days of the moon cycle coming back to full moon, coming round to full moon. So you say Osiris is the moon, but not quite. It's just the way the story goes. So she puts the pieces together to form the new moon. And then part of the story, it says they don't find him. All they find is the phallus. So she put Osiris together long enough to create a baby, which means you've got the full moon is being created now, and the phallus, which is the Milky Way, comes around and embeds, or the egg embeds into the Milky Way, but the Milky Way catches up to the moon. The Milky Way comes over and overlays that full moon. And that's the divine period where she gives birth. Okay, understand that? So, but this happens in this divine season when the two Milky Ways align. So when it's straight over your zenith, the Milky Way will be dead straight, like midnight or whatever, and that one will be dead straight. And then there's this bridging. And so the Milky Way is swung around, and up here is the full moon. It's swung over the full moon. And these are the 5 holy days in Egyptian mythology that the moon can give birth. Okay? So this is divine spiritual enlightenment that all the Egyptians have left us, all the details. No one's ever told you this before, okay? I'm the only one who knows it. Trust me. So that's what's happened. Understand? Because you get 14 cycles of the moon this way, and you get 14 deforming. So you get 14 forming to full moon, 14 days deforming. Then you get the loop of the cardioid, where you lose the sun in the lose the moon in the face of the sun, where they're moving together, and you don't see this moon. So there's the 14 pieces being reformed, and then they find the phallus, which is the Milky Way, comes along there and hits the moon. So the Milky Way is the phallus in our night sky in all mythological stories. That's the phallus. And quickly give you that one. Which is here, see? Also described in a lot of stories. Other ancient Egyptian stories, the solar boat that floats across the sky, because the sun's in the solar boat. Oh, there's the rest of the story I forgot actually. So what happens is Osiris and Isis, is it, create a child. At that point, when the Milky Way passes over the full moon, creates a child. And that child is Horus. And there's depictions in Egypt where you've got the two solar boats aligning, which is the two Milky Ways. There's a crossing here. And they create Horus. Horus is represented as the falcon. He's the most divine. He connects Upper and Lower Egypt. Upper and Lower Egypt. Or North and South Pole, or whatever you want to call it. The 2-star rotation, separate hemispheres. He is the unification, Horus, between earth and heaven. So he is the most divine of all the prophets. He's the king. Because he is a connection between earth and heaven. And knows all the stories. He's the one who can read all the ancient, esoteric philosophies, anything, what do you want to call it. Interpret it. He's the only one. Double crown. He wears the double crown. The jet, is it? Or was that only the red crown? We'll have a look here. Here we go, there's an image. That's the, oops, no glasses. There's the red crown. That's the Dishret. That's the Dishret. The other one is the unification. You get the red and you get the white one put in there. They're the two. They're coming of the two hemispheres, and what you've told in the mythological stories, Upper and Lower Egypt. All spun, you know, all wrong. You've been taught all this rubbish. They cannot go deep enough. They do not understand the truth. That's why I'm here doing these videos, okay? I've written it here somewhere. But I'll read what I've got here. We've got the feather of Ma'at. The feather of Ma'at. Ma'at is one of the most common Egyptian stories. I think a story is half the print's missing down here. Used in hieroglyphics. Goddess Ma'at represents justice in Egypt. Culture and feather of Ma'at can be seen within the extent of something justice in ancient inscriptions. That is because ancient Egyptians believed that one's heart would something weighed against the father of Ma'at in the hall of two truths. In the hall, you see, you're getting weighed at this point. There's the hall of the two truths. Another depiction of the duality. When soul enters Duat, the underworld, that's the heaven and earth. The underworld, you can say that's the underworld now. But, you know, it's between heaven and earth. And that can also mean that where Antares arrives, that part of the season, opposite to the divine Milky Way season. If not, then his heart would be... Did I read all that? No. Okay. If his heart was found to be equal, this is an equal, this is a balance here, an equal, to or lighter than this would mean a virtuous person, and he would go on to Aru, paradise ruled by Osiris. Okay, well, once again Osiris, you've got to connect that to the divine story, the Milky Way. You know, you become a son, a god, a king, because the sun's in the Milky Way, remember, he's the god, he's the king, Christ basically. If not, then his heart would be eaten by Amut, the soul-eating god. Soul-eating. So eat your soul. You start all over again. See, these people have raised their soul, raised their kundalini, raised their chakras. They're now whole. They've reached the top. Divine connection. And he would be cursed to remain in the underworld forever. Well, you can look at it. There's two underworlds. There's down here on earth. This is the underworld. And then there's heaven. So you go up there and get a place in heaven as a permanent star, fixed star. Or you keep dwelling down here, recycling. So you leave earth in a hell state. You're coming back to its hell state, or if it would probably be a bit worse by the time you get here. This is why you have to make a stand now for your future. This is how the Freemasons work. They line everything up for their next descendants. So they're creating all the good stuff for them, while they're creating hell for everybody else.